welcome back Emma Willmann.
Oh, Emma. You're Emma.
Here we go. Let's get crazy.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of Emma's Bunker. I'm your host, Emma Willmann. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I'm in LA. I got my dog Bowie sitting on my lap. I can smell his breath from here. It's either his breath or Satan has coming up through his mouth. Either Satan's in his mouth or he has bad breath naturally. Either way, that's where it's coming from. Just like a little. Oh, his breath is so bad. It's not offensive because he's a dog, so obviously he's not just like, fuck these people, I'm gonna have my breath be as bad as I want to be, but it's like, it's an awakening. It reminds you that you're alive. It reminds you that you need to brush your dog's teeth. But I've been brushing his damn teeth every other day, and he hates it. He goes nuts. He's a Chihuahua Yorkie Pomeranian, and the Pomeranian comes out when he's about to get his teeth brushed. He does not like that. I just did a podcast recently where it's called We Don't Deserve Dogs. I don't know when the episode's coming out, but one time I took Bowie in to get his teeth brushed, and the woman was insisting on anal probing him. That's not what she called it. She had some word for it, but I was like, you mean like anal probing? And she was like, no. But yes. She was like, there's like stink pockets in his butt. First of all, Bitch, you don't know my dog's butt like that, bitch? She was like, yeah, there's like stink pockets in little dog's butts that needs to be drained. I don't know why. I think it's because I was on her turf in the doggy spa clinic that I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, yeah. And then I wasn't going to have her do it. And then she did it. And the whole time I was gone, I was like picturing him thinking that his new life was just living with this woman getting his butt probed. I cried. I really did. I didn't cry when my parents got divorced, but I sat at a Panera Bread. I thought about that and tears in my eyes just because I wasn't able to communicate with him. My guest today is a very funny LA-based comedian. We met each other at the Comedy Store a long time ago. I was like, we met each other a while ago at the Comedy Store. She's a really good comic, super funny. Her name is Lara Beitz. Now, here's the fucking thing. We've known each other for a little while now. And I always knew, I was like, not saying her name right. Unless I wasn't, and I'm just a psychopath, but I was saying it right. I'm trying to be a better, look, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. I'm thinking, I want to be a better interviewer, I don't fucking know. All I do know is this. I care about people's time. I care about your time. I care about their time. And I care about my time. Because the truth of it is we could all be eating Juji fruit, watching Law & Order Special Victims Unit, so that you're not doing that and you're spending time with me. I appreciate that shit. So trying to make it the best time for all involved is I watch and research them, even people I know. So I'm not asking them so they're not just regurgitating the same questions. Because when I'm interviewed, I always appreciate that. So in watching other interviews with her, it was always a thing where people would say the name, someone would say it right, someone would say it wrong, and then I started getting fucking confused. And then I started saying her name over and over in my head, and then when I do the intro, I said it wrong again. And now I don't know what's up and down. I don't know if this is fucking orange or yellow. I don't know. I'm all confused. But I wasn't confused, and then I became confused at the confusion of others. Normally I'm the confusion instigator. This was just watching a bunch and then getting in my head. So that's what it is. But it was a really a fun conversation. I'm excited to share it with you. She was the first comedian to perform on Lights Out with David Spade. He saw her performing. He was like, I like her. Had her on as the first comic. Here is my conversation with Lara Beitz. If I didn't say that right, I'm going to walk outside and lick the pavement on the ground. Thank you for being here. You can email me, emmasbunker@gmail.com.
I don't know. I think I got a regular one. Maybe it's tight. I feel like if it was, though, it would have come up in conversation by now, though. One time a guy did say it was tight. I was like, really? And he laughed so hard his dick went soft.
Today I am talking to comedian, actress, podcaster, Lara Beitz. And I got to tell you something. Thank you for doing the show. Watching all your interviews, it made me all of a sudden get very self-conscious pronouncing your name because I know how to pronounce. I know your name, but so many people would mispronounce your name. I started getting scared out of my mind.
You said it wrong just now. It's Lara.
Fuck! But that's what I said.
You said Laura.
Fuck. Wait, I literally have been walking around practicing it. And the reason I'm blaming it on that I was listening to other people. I'm hot potatoing it. I know how to. I listened to it be. I didn't think of it as a thing, and then the second one I listened to, I was like, oh, people say her name wrong all the time. I started pronouncing it. Now I'm fucked. I can never say it right.
Lara, like star or far or car.
I promise you, I practiced it though. Like I practiced it.
Yeah. I have more practice than you do.
But I said your last name right.
You did.
Fucking A. I literally was like, oh, everyone always gets the name wrong, and then it'll be like not even a thing. And then
But it's worth it. It's worth it for the cartoonishly Emma Willmann reaction to your mistake, which was to literally be like, fucking A.
fuck, are you sure about your name? Did David Spade say it wrong when he introduced you?
He has said it wrong and he has said it right.
Okay. Well, okay. So I think that in one of the ones I was just watching, because right before we called, I watched his one to get it, and I think I watched the wrong one right before that said it wrong. That's what I'm blaming it on. But
It's very possible.
well, thank you for bearing
I
with me
believe
for
you.
that. Thank you.
I appreciate you for caring. That's honestly all I ask. I appreciate you caring and trying. I'm never mad. I'm never mad when someone gets it wrong. The only thing that irritates me is when people are like, no, I said it right. And I'm like, I really would know, wouldn't I? I would really know, wouldn't I?
Right. Yeah, it's always, one time I saw someone, this is the most blatant intense form of this. I saw this woman walk up to this guy and be like, Gary. And he goes, no, I'm not Gary. And she goes, you look like Gary. Are you sure you're not Gary? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was really fun watching all your stuff and your interviews. And before I get to my questions for you, I wanted to ask just a little bit to frame the context for what you were like as a kid growing up in Milwaukee. Were you an outgoing kid, or what were you like?
Oh, I was like super weird. I was just really weird. My sister like legit thought I had a disability. Like she thought I was in the special class because the teacher who taught my class used to teach the special ed class. And I was just always like singing and like talking to myself, and I'm still the same way, you know?
And she wasn't like that, your sister?
No.
I wonder why you guys were so different.
I don't know.
Did you guys get along?
No, not really. Not when we were kids. We started getting along as adults. We started getting along when I was like 30.
Really?
Yeah, but we're like thick as thieves now. We get along really well now.
I actually
We just
relate to
both
that.
had to like be adults and do like actual work on ourselves. And then when we stopped paying attention to the other one and started just working on ourselves, that was when our relationship got way better.
Absolutely. Did you have a niece or a nephew by any chance?
I have 4.
Because I know for me that helped me get closer with my sister when like it was all of a sudden something outside of us to bring us together, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have 3 nephews and 1 niece.
Is
And
she?
yeah, I think maybe that helped, but I think also like us both learning independently how to set boundaries helped.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people who don't have boundaries get really butthurt if you set a boundary. So it works best if like both people have boundaries.
Did you know that she was learning how to set boundaries while you were learning about it? And or were just pleasantly surprised and you're like, here, I've worked on this, and then she was like, me too.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fucking
Yeah,
sweet.
I was pleasantly surprised. We
That's
both
great.
did our own work independently. Yeah.
That's great, because you might have to go into it like, okay, I'm ready for this to be a shit show, and then when the person's like, well, I agree, and blah 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 blah, and then you're like, oh,
Oh, all right.
didn't see that outcome coming at all.
Yeah.
Is she older or younger?
She's 5 years older.
So pretty close in age. Did she think you were nuts when you moved from Milwaukee to Chicago?
No, she didn't. She was supportive of that. And she was supportive of me moving from Chicago to LA too. But didn't, like for herself, she didn't want me to move that far away. But for me, she really wanted me to. And there have been times in like recent years, my mom has health problems. And I've been like, do you want me to move back
Mm.
and help? You know, and she's like, no, nobody wants that. And I'm
Right.
so glad, you know,
Right.
because I probably even wouldn't if she said yes.
Right.
But it's nice to not be in that position.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you moved to Milwaukee or LA, did you have any friends out there, or were you just going cold?
When I moved from Chicago to LA, I like thought I had friends out here, but it's different once people live out here. And I didn't get that until I lived out here because you're like, what the fuck? We used to be friends and now you don't even want to hang out. And now people call me when they're out here who I used to be friends with. And I'm like, sorry, dude. That was like, that was so
Ain't
4
that the
years
truth?
ago.
My friend told me that, and I didn't get it. This friend of mine, Jennifer from Maine. So I'm being from bumfuck Maine. Normally, if you're like in another place besides that, you always connect. So I remember when I would come to LA, I'd always see Jennifer, and she's like, I see you more than like anyone else that like lives out here, right? From her, and I didn't get it, and then.
Yeah.
And then finally she was like, people in LA don't hang out. She's like, once everyone lives in LA, you don't, the only way you see someone is if they're not from LA. And then when I moved to LA, I think I've seen Jennifer like one time, but it's not like that I don't think New York is really like that, but that she was like, oh, that's in LA. That's like a thing that everybody knows about. I didn't know about this.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have like a really small, like I have a really small circle and it's kind of like random, like
Yeah.
who I am hanging out with at any given time. But I remember when I first moved out here, it was like my first day out here. And I called someone who I was friends with in Chicago, and she straight up was like, you're on your own out here. And I was like, what the fuck?
The
I thought
fuck?
it was so fucked up. And now if someone calls me from like Milwaukee or Chicago, I'm like, you're
Yeah.
kind of on your own out here.
Right.
Like I wouldn't say those words, but also like, no, I don't want to meet up.
Right. Damn. That it is. Well, because also it's like I feel like when people come out too, they'll be like wanting either advice or any insight on it, and you're like, yeah, there's nothing anyone can say. You just got to do it. So don't
Oh my
expect
God,
anything.
yeah. Do you get irritated when people ask you for advice?
People don't really ask me. This is what people. Yes, actually, yes, I do. Yes, I do. This is what. Yes, I do. People will ask me for advice sometimes about stand up. Not recently. I got to think about what happened in the past 2 years that no one's asked me for advice. There was a year I had a really good year, and I got asked for advice a lot. And I remember when it would really piss me off was there was this person that asked me for advice about something that I hadn't gotten a couple years before. She was like, she was like a finalist in Stand Up for Diversity, and she was like, what do you think I should do? And there was a couple options that were all like really great things. And I remember I was really pissed off because I was like, oh, she must think that I did this. I was like, and so I started getting annoyed. I was like, I don't give a fuck if you go in and get shot in the head. Everybody like, fuck you and fuck that. I didn't do that. And then I was like, what? You just Google. It doesn't say anywhere I did that. And so then I was annoyed. And then I was like, and also now you're competing with me for this. I was like, so I was livid. And then I think I asked someone, I was like, I'm so pissed. And they were like, I think she's just asking. It was like a really basic question. And then I was like, oh, I just wrote back and I was like, you can't go wrong with whatever you choose. Like, good luck. But
Yeah.
I went ballistic. Do you mind when people ask you for advice?
It
Depends how
depends.
to.
It
Yeah.
depends on who. It depends on what the advice is. One
Yes.
thing that hits me, I understand why people are asking, but it never hits me the right way. And this is one I get a lot, is people who are like, hey, how did you get past at the clubs? How do you get past at this club, this club? And I'm like, work really hard for 10 years and do the open mics over and over until you get past. Like, I
feel
don't
like-
know. There's
yeah.
not a shortcut. And people move here from like the Midwest and are just like, so is there like an email address? I'm like, yeah, I would love to give you the email address.
Right. And what do you think you're going to do with that email address?
Yeah. I'm like, do you know how many people are past who email
Right.
who never get spots? Like, you just have no idea. You just have no idea what you're dealing with.
Right. It's also it's like undermining, because the truth is I would think it's like there's no shortcut. So obviously how you got something was through working at it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you ask? I don't know if people ask men that question as much. I'm going to assume they probably maybe do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I got mad when you said that because I'm like, I'm gonna be so pissed if people don't ask men that as much.
I really don't know because I know that, yeah, how'd you get that? Because it's usually like, what do you, I was just walking down the street and someone handed it to me. There's no like thing
Yeah,
for it, but I
yeah,
think that would, yeah. So you
yeah. I
didn't have
think
any friends when you got out here?
no, I had like a couple friends.
Did any of them work in entertainment or was it all?
Yeah, no, I was friends with some comics who moved out here.
That's
I just
nice.
thought I was gonna like know a ton of people, and actually it was like I had like two people to hang out with and then work my way up from there. But one thing that I didn't expect is like how quick the scene gets smaller, like how
Hmm.
quickly you see. I think like night two, I saw people who I had met night one. You
Oh,
know what
that's
I mean?
interesting.
So it's like, yeah, I moved out here with like not a lot of like friends,
Yep.
but I don't know. And it's so weird because it's like you meet people fast, but then honestly, like 2 or even 3 years into living here, I looked up and I was like, oh, I don't have like any fucking friends. Like I have so many acquaintances.
Yes.
I could like walk into a room and be like, hey, 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 but like I have no one to call if like I need a friend. And it's such a weird place where it's like I don't even know how that happened. Like
I
how
think
did I
about that all the
manage?
time. And I don't know if it's an age thing because I have a friend Julie from Boston from when I wasn't doing comedy and I was working a day job and she became my friend. This is like 9, 8, this is a while ago. And she's like my adult friend. And and she was like, I was saying that and she's like, that's everybody. It's just a part of getting older. And I was like, I think it's also I mean, we're around a large amount of people at night that
Yeah,
we have a natural affinity towards because we've got a common community as
yeah.
comedians. But it's still only in a certain context.
Yeah, well, and honestly, I've used comedy as a substitute for love in my life of all
Ooh,
kinds. Oh, I know. I
that's
know.
so interesting. I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, totally.
For love, I think I've used it as a
For love.
I've used it as a substitute for like I don't know if love, but I maybe for like having a life in but
That's
so
love, dog. That's what I'm saying, though.
will you walk me
Like,
through that a little bit more?
yeah, so I think that I've used it as like a way to not have to be intimate or vulnerable with anybody because
Hmm.
you get the hang. And I'm an introvert anyway. So,
Me
like,
too.
my tank is out of gas
Me
at the end of the
too.
night
Me
for
too.
sure. And I got to go home and be by
Ske-
myself. And then the next day, you just see people when you have shows. And I just never really got present to a loneliness. It
mm,
was always just kind of like a really distant ache, but it was like, what am
mm.
I going to do about it? You know, you go
Were
on
you
dating
single?
apps and you're
And
like,
were you single when you came out?
yeah, I'm like always single. I mean,
Mm.
I'm like not, but then I will be again. My relationships are always so short. And and it sucks because it's like if you hear anyone say that, you'd be like, well, look at yourself. What are you doing? But it's like I've done so much fucking work on myself
Right.
that fuck you if you're even fucking thinking that. Like,
Right.
um, but
The
what? Oh yeah,
schedule is
I had
tough too. The
yeah,
schedule can be very tough if it's someone not with a nighttime schedule. That I used to always be like, no, there's always ways to work around it, but it can be just like literally logistically tricky when you don't have uh or even being able to make plans because if something pops up, then it can make someone feel not as important.
yeah, and in so many of my relationships, most of my adult relationships, it's been a problem. And the
Mm-hmm.
guy's like, I can't be your last priority. And I'm like, well,
Yep.
you're my fifth priority
Yeah.
and the other shit's not moving. So,
I try to be so transparent about that at the beginning of relationships to the point where, but 100% of the time, the same thing happens. And I try to be like really like light about it. Like there was a quote in one of your interviews where you were talking about, I don't want to take it out of context. It was the interview with Bill Dawes where you're talking about when you would I'm very much paraphrasing, but it was to get to saying what you wanted to say on stage. So sometimes you'd make fun of women a little bit to then build the capital to then kind of like come in with like other like points to build that goodwill. So almost in relationships, I will be very cautious of how I'll like present the information, but I always do up top. I'm always like, I always put work first. It's been a problem in the past, and 100% of the time, the people are like, I get that, me too. I like that about you, and I'm like, okay, but in the past, actually, this is then come back to not be the case. Ha 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 ha. Ha. Cut to 6 or 7 months. 100% of the time, it's a problem.
100% of the time. It's
See,
so
I couldn't
funny.
even say I put it fifth. I always have to say, I have to put myself, my mental health, and career stuff, and then relationship. If I said fifth, the girl would leave.
Well, then fucking leave, bitch, and get 4 more things that are more important to you in your life than your relationship, and then come back.
So
you know?
say fifth. You'll say fifth to a guy. You're the fifth most
If
important.
he asks, if he says that, I will. If he says I can't be your last priority, I'll be like, well, eating,
Last?
sleeping, comedy,
Okay, fair.
exercising.
You could lump those as one. I don't know if this is being manipulative of me, but I would lump those all as like one thing, and then
That's fair.
You could say two. You say you're number two, but
That's
you know,
fair, but like, Emma, they're not one thing. Those things all take up time in the day. It takes
know.
up a separate hour or 2 chunk of time to work out than it does to prepare nutritious meals. Like, that's all. I mean, the eating thing is, I've never said you come after eating, because like,
it's a thing
I'll
though.
eat with you, but
Right. It's a thing.
it is like, if I'm trying to meet up somewhere, I need to go home, make myself dinner, take a shower. You know, that stuff all takes time. And then if I have a show, it's like, I don't know. But then what will you do if then they want to come to your show? I'll preface this by saying, in my next relationship, it is a goal for me that I will be crystal clear on the boundary that like, I may never let you see me live, and don't even ask me about it, because I fucking hate having people come see me.
Does that extend to like friends and even people that have seen you at other shows?
I pretty much do hate having friends come see me.
I have friends are the ones I mind the least, but still mind almost, even with people like people that like want to come to comedy shows. I almost have a hard time with that. Like I will either feel bad, or I'll be like, I don't know exactly how it's gonna go, and then if I know someone's there, I will just think about them the entire time. And if they've come to another show, I will worry that I'm doing too many of the same jokes, and I'll overthink about that. And so I wish, my dream thing of comedy, it's like it's a catch-22. You always have to be wanting to promote people to come see you, but then I'd love it if it was.
Please really don't.
Please really
I'm
don't.
doing
Keep it
that
total.
for Instagram. Yeah, that's for other people.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, totally. Well, and then if you're thinking, what jokes has this person not seen, then you're not doing your best set for the room.
Right.
You're not doing the set that you would do, but you also don't want to do the same set that they saw last time. And just no matter how you cut it, it adds stress to a situation that already makes me almost piss my pants every time I fucking do it. Like, my heart rate is through the roof before I go on stage. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I have bad stage fright. I feel like I'm gonna die before I get on stage every time. And I just know that I'm not, because I feel like that every time. But in the beginning, I like thought I was gonna vomit or faint. Like, I really, really did.
Is it kind of, because actually get very nervous before I go on stage too, but has one thing with, I almost have felt relief during Corona not getting those nerves, because it's like every night putting yourself out there, I miss it, but also not having that spike of nerves too has actually been a little bit nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I miss stand-up a lot, but I've also like lost a lot of weight and gotten way healthier, and I live in a better place, and like, my life is
literally live in a better place. Did you move?
Yeah. Yeah, I moved. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I don't know. I miss it. It's like, I think it really is like a drug.
It's such a fucking drug.
It's such a dopamine rush, and I'm just like not on it right now.
Right.
You know?
It's such a drug. Yeah. It's almost for better or worse. I've thought, because can be the best feeling, but no matter what, it's intense. There's no way around that. Yeah. With relationships, I have had a hard time saying to not come to shows. Yeah. In LA, I think there's something about LA that is almost harder too, because in LA it's more of a process doing a show, and literally in terms of like driving, getting there, and all of that. In New York, maybe just because I'm more, the bopping around can make it so like someone can like wait next door at a cafe, and that's very easy. And I've done that before. In LA, that was harder. It was like felt like more of a production for me if I had
Yeah.
my girlfriend come here.
And that's such a good point because I never even think about the ride there, but I
Same.
always listen to my sets.
Mm,
I don't always. I either listen to my sets on the way there or I play music and sing. But I'll tell you what I don't want to do, and that's have a fucking conversation. That's not, you know what I mean?
hey,
Like,
you're not even in the top 5, so
no, you're
quit
not.
quirking it.
No, I just don't. I get so selfish before performances, and
Yeah,
it's like, I would rather just you not be there than be like, okay, you can come, but I'm not going to give you any attention, and I
right.
really mean it, and I'm going to be super fucking weird up to it, and I'm not going to really want to talk about anything else for like an hour after it, and I'm either going to be super depressed or like I'm on cocaine, depending on how it went. You know, it's just like, just stay home.
Yeah, let's not. Like, just let's not
Just
even
stay
open
home.
that. Have you had
Yeah.
people pressure you to take them to an open mic before? Have you ever had that?
No.
Back in the day, when I was in New York, people would all girlfriends would always want me. They go because I'd be always going out to open mics. They'd always want to go, and I'd be like, no, no. I kind of forgot about this. So I was talking about now. I'd say no, 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 and then 100% time it happened 3 times, and they were like, just let me come, and they came, and within the first or second comic, I remember one of the girls was like, she kept writing that the comic on stage, she kept going racist, and then doing an arrow to it. She goes, he's being racist. He's being racist to Asian people.
Yeah,
And
you're
I
at
was
an open mic, bitch. Don't ever come again.
right, and I was like, best case scenario, he's being racist. Like the best, it's about to go fucking down after this. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be racist, sexist, homophobic. I was like, there's this fucking old guy that comes that literally talks about having sex with like his dog, like, and there's no jokes, and he's literally insane. And everyone, he gets up, and everyone has to sit there and go like, fuck this guy. He might be here. You just take it. And she was like,
Yeah.
afterwards, she was like, I'm worried about that doesn't seem to bother you and that you seem immune to it. And I was like,
No, this bothers me, though. This
right.
bothers me.
Yeah, yeah.
You wanting me to be responsible for everything that comes out of the mouths of 30 comics who aren't me. That bothers me.
Right. Right. Like she was like, this is, and I was like,
You know, I didn't say it, right?
right,
Did you see me not say that?
right, right, right. So in the interview that I heard that you talked about this, you definitely didn't want to go into it. So no pressure on it. But would you be open to talking about your band? We don't have to
Oh
specify
my
the
God,
genre.
that's
Because
so
I was
funny that everybody asks me about that. And it was so
Laura.
long ago.
Laura.
Lara.
Like
Lara.
Lara. Sorry. But okay, sorry. Laura. It's a juicy nugget because it was like, first of all, the way you set it up with one of the ones I was listening to, it was like something, something, something in your band, and then they like circle back to it, and you're like, well, it was a hip hop band. And they were like, what? That's a big, because I used to be obsessed with hip hop when I was a
Yeah.
kid because it's words as a product, and it also seemed like something that it's not where you're from, it's where you at. You can get into it. I was obsessed with music. Used to think I wanted to be in the music industry. I never had the guts to perform it. Will you just tell me what role in the band you were?
Yeah, I played the keyboard and I rapped and sang. But that's cultural appropriation now, and I didn't know that back then.
Oh,
I didn't know anything about that.
interesting. Yeah. I
This
guess I
was
still
10
don't.
years ago, you know?
Right. Right.
I learned about cultural appropriation like last year, so
Right. Yeah, I remember learning about it in
like
college.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember learning about it in college. Well, I guess it also depends what you were. Is there footage of you doing it?
I actually don't think so. I mean, no, there is, but I have no idea where it is. I wouldn't be able to get my hands on it.
How serious about it were you?
I was really serious about it.
So was I with
I used to
music.
play music for like 8 hours a day. I just would
Really?
like, yeah.
Were you so were you were always kind of or for a long time were attracted to some sense of entertainment?
Yeah, well, and I think just like making something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I just had to be making something. Or I felt like
Mm.
I think I felt like I was being lazy anytime I wasn't making something.
Even as a kid?
Um, Wow, I don't know.
Did you feel pressure? Were you in an environment where you felt like a pressure to do well, or was it self-imposed?
As a kid, I did more sports, I realized. Between now and 5 seconds ago, I realized that.
Did your
That's what I
parents
meant.
pressure you? And I heard some of the story about your parents on the Blackout podcast. But did
No,
no, they didn't.
no. My parents occasionally pressured me to pass my classes.
Mm,
I think they wanted that, but they weren't, I was a latchkey kid. Like, they weren't, no one was ever like, let me see your homework and like see
mm,
that that's done. They would find out how I was doing when the teacher was like, she's not doing her work. She just looks out
right,
the window.
right.
And I'd be like, well,
I like the window.
I tried. I just couldn't pay attention.
Do you have
And
ADD?
math was the hardest
Oh,
because it's
fuck
like
math.
you look out the window for 10 seconds, you miss one thing they did, even if you get everything before and everything after, which I didn't, you don't know how to fucking do the thing. And then that's on the next 5 homework assignments. And then you're fucked. And you got a D- and you did your best. And everyone is like talking about you applying yourself. And it's like, maybe I fucking am. Maybe I am.
Right. You ever think about that?
Ever think about that? What if I am?
Right. Yeah, you're not trying. Like, I guess I'm trying, and my not trying seems like not trying. So why don't we rephrase this conversation where so just say I'm stupid. Just fucking, if that's what you're trying to say. I wish I could play that to my parents when I was in like elementary school, high school. I hated math so much because of that reason. Where if you miss one thing, and
Yes.
I tune out every minute. That's not
Yeah.
that bad for a kid to just go like this, and then all of a sudden they're
No.
bringing letters and fucking other shit into it. Get
I know.
out.
I know. I couldn't
Get
do
out.
long division right now if you put a gun to my head.
I
I
was
couldn't
just
do it.
talking to someone about not being able to do
Not a
math if my
clue.
life depended on it.
Not a fucking clue.
Hate. Were you good in school other than math?
No.
Mm.
I was like smart. Like, I was good in school until you had to, like, I could spell. You know what I
I
mean?
hate
I had
spelling.
natural, like, I was smart, but I didn't have any of the skills,
Mm.
like listening or like studying
Yeah.
or doing the work. I would try to do my math homework and I straight up would just number the page and then just write down numbers because I'd be like, beats me, I'd love to turn this in, beats the fuck out of me what you guys have been doing.
Right.
And so I would write down numbers. And I remember the day that the teacher was like, these are just numbers. This isn't even
Yeah, bitch, I'm doing math. That's what you're doing.
anything we're doing. And I'm like, well, are any of them right? Did you even look at what numbers they were? Because I really don't see how the answers to these problems, none of them are numbers, but
Right.
fuck me,
There's
I
a
guess.
2 here. There's a 2 in that fucking answer category. So I got, what, 8 points there?
You're
Something.
supposed to show you your work. How about this? I did, bitch.
Right.
How's that?
I
I
did the
showed
work.
you. It's up here. I don't know. I don't know.
I hate math class. So my dad's a math teacher, so he would always do my homework too. So I'd get like 100s and then zeros. And I was like, I don't know. I don't test well. I had to go to the special room for tests. Did you ever have to do that?
I did.
You did?
Yes, but I was smart and I skipped a grade. And I'm sorry for your experience. But that's
Interesting.
also why they gave me so much shit
Right.
for like failing my stuff because they're like, you're not applying yourself. And I'm like, you're not applying yourself because how old
how
do you
about that?
fucking have to be to realize that something is wrong and so much was wrong at home and people
Right.
should absolutely have intervened and never did. And I was wearing the same thing to school every single day and
Yep.
no one ever did anything about it. I'm like, how am I in fucking trouble and you're not like trying to figure out what's wrong?
There was it is like uncanny. The 2 kids in my elementary school, me and my friend Tom, when we started getting in trouble, it was like both of our parents got divorced. We started getting in trouble. There wasn't my parents got as my parents are all of a sudden home life becomes super chaotic. I'm acting out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, a couple months later, starts acting out. His parents are getting divorced. It's not rocket science. There's something is going on at home, and then him and I would have to like sit outside while the other kids did stuff because we were in trouble, and then it just like feeds into you feeling weird or bad, and then you get worse, and then we started, being misbehaving, which
Totally.
you
Totally.
know,
I ran away from school when I was in third grade, and then because stuff was so awful at home,
and were
and
your parents divorced at any point?
they got divorced when I was 12, and then my dad went to jail when I was 13, and my sister moved out that year, and we took in like a boarder who rented out the extra room. So there was just like a ton of shit going on,
Right.
you know?
And shifting at home is so fucking jarring when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's really. I remember this eighth grade. I did have one teacher that really looked out for me, and she kind of saw me on that because my dad. All of a sudden, I had this different stepmom and all these different kids, and he was be dating all the time. And she was like, having a new person in your house is one of the most jarring things as a kid to try to process. So having a boarder would be like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah, so then kids weren't, after I ran away from school, like my friends weren't allowed to play with me anymore, which then like, I think that really cemented my identity as like the other, the outsider, you know what I mean? And I never had like a group of friends. I was always just like floating around, I would maybe have like one or two close friends at a time,
You run away just from school, or just from that just means like skipping school, right?
No, I like left the playground during recess and like
shit.
left. Yeah,
Damn.
I left school. I ran away
Damn.
from school. I was running away from home
literally.
all the time, but I always like went back,
Right.
before anyone even really like, do you want me to shut that door? I thought I had already.
It doesn't sound bad.
Okay, cool.
Thank you though.
Yeah, I would like think I had been gone a super long time and would come back, and I don't think anyone ever noticed that I ran away from home. But I ran away from school and they noticed,
Where did you go?
I walked along the train tracks because I knew I would be able to find my way home if I changed my mind. And the police found me. Yeah.
And then did you get like detention?
I got put in a hospital for a week.
That's a tough age to have to do that too.
Yeah, I remember like they put me in a padded cell for a night.
Damn! Just
and
for running away from school?
Cried and cried. Well, I like said that I like wanted to kill myself.
Oh yeah, I did that too. I did that in high school. They didn't make me go to a padded room though, but I got kicked out of I like had to leave. But I remember too, I was like, yeah, I didn't just say it. They read one of my journals and I had written that I tried to kill myself, and I was like, okay, I did kind of, but all I did was, and already it's like, but what the truth was, I had taken a rope or something and I put it around the door, and then I like sat there with it around my neck, but I didn't even try to like put pressure on it. So I wasn't really trying to kill myself, but I did do that, and they were like, yeah, you're kicked out. So yeah, but I was like, yeah, I guess sometimes if you're someone that says it a lot, I don't know if that was the case with you, but I was kind of like surprised that people were taking it. It was such a big deal. I was like, doesn't everyone kind of want to kill themselves sometimes? And that's not what you're supposed to say.
I'm picturing like little kid Emma being like, what? I got a rope around my neck. Why? Is it not everybody? What are you talking about?
What do you guys do with ropes?
I had like the opposite reaction. I thought that I was the first person ever to realize that you could kill yourself.
Interesting.
But I wanted to be in the hospital for a week. It was like a vacation. I didn't have to go to school. I didn't have to be at home.
Right.
I met this like awesome nurse. I got a little like boyfriend.
Hey.
He was 9 and I was 8. And he had like electrodes all over him because they were like.
Oh, you were a
testing
baby.
him.
You were a little baby.
Yeah, I was little.
That's
I was
really
little
young.
Kid.
That's really
and he
young.
like chewed Nicorette because he was a smoker.
At 9?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Was fucked up, dude. Yeah.
I wonder what happened to him.
Oh my God, I think about it all the time. I have no idea.
9 years old.
I don't think about it all the time. I think about it maybe once a year, twice a year.
I wonder about that girl when I was at the inpatient rehab place. I wonder about her probably once a year. I'm like, I just can picture her. And I remember there was this girl who told me she was She told me, and I'd never met anyone before who said that. She told me she was a stripper. And I remember saying something really stupid. I was like, wow, that's so cool. Or she was a hooker. I was like, wow, because I'd like seen it on music videos. And she was like, is it cool, Emma? Is it cool that I do so much heroin that I need to strip and sell my body for it? And I'm so fucked up. I'm falling asleep on guys' dicks. Is that really cool? And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, that's not cool. Like, I just thought of a stripper as like a music video, you know?
Yeah, you're like in Showgirls.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. And she was like, no.
No.
Did the band break up naturally, or was there like a...
Actually, I
And also, I
moved
thought the
to,
name BLT is a good name. I fucking love. I don't know what I don't know if it stands for bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but I love a BLT sandwich.
it's like bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but sexy because the T's was
Ooh.
spelled out. It was BLTEASE.
BE. Oh, got it. Yeah, that's hot.
BLTs. I moved to Philadelphia, and then the band broke up, and then one of the members killed herself, hung
Damn.
herself on her bedroom door, full circle.
Are you serious?
I swear to God. And
I'm
the
so
other
sorry to
one
hear that.
got shot in the head, and he died.
I'm
Isn't
so
that
sorry to
nuts?
hear that. That's
yeah,
awful.
two of my band members are dead now.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy?
So it's definitely not getting
My
back.
friend Chris works at a deli. We're still in touch.
Good. That's good. That's awful.
Yeah.
Man, how long was it between doing the band and discovering comedy?
Oh, gosh. There was like, I pretty much like, I went from music to comedy and then just like put music down like it was a toy that wasn't as fun to play with as my
Right.
new one, and just got obsessed with comedy and never stopped being obsessed with it.
And the first place you did it was at Jokers with a Z that had a strip club up top?
No, it was at the Comedy Cafe in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay. But was there a place called Jokers with a Z that had a strip club up top?
There sure was. And
Okay.
you know, Emma, I think there still might be.
Well,
I think it might still be a place.
goals.
Yeah.
How'd you feel that first time? Were you like more nervous and like were you sober the first? I mean, had you had any drinks that night that you did it? The first time I did stand up, I was
sure
fucking.
I had.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
was
sure I
fucking
had.
fucked to the wind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I romanticize. I don't know. I don't want to know why, but I kind of romanticize it. You know, in my mind, it was glorious. I'm sure it wasn't, but it was before I was drinking. It was like the beginning of drinking too much. But yeah, I remember drinking a bunch of whiskey, doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely sped up like my rock bottom, the nerves, because I would like consciously be like, I need to fit as much alcohol in my face before I go on stage as I can to
Yep.
deal with, to try to manage some of this feeling, because I was terrified.
Yep.
The first time, yeah, I was incredibly nervous.
Did you tell like anybody you knew that you were doing it, or was it like your secret?
My friend Jason did it.
Nice.
And he was there.
I had one friend, Eli. He was gonna do it, and he didn't end up doing it, but he was hosting it. And then I remember he was kind of like, "Okay, like, you go up right now." And I wish there was. I would be interested to see how it was. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. What's the first video you have of you doing stand up?
You know, I have a video somewhere of me doing it like a couple months in a contest. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
so
I
you-
would want to watch it, honestly.
Even though you're so far removed from it.
I mean, it just was so bad. And I thought I was so good at the time. And that's fucking humbling, because like, however good I think I am at any given time, it's like, well, remember
Right.
those jokes that
Right.
we used to tell?
Yeah.
We thought that those were really,
Right.
Good,
So who can you
know?
trust? Right.
yeah.
It's tough to see. I have a tough time looking at pictures of myself with that too, because I remember like how fucked up I was. Also, like I'll be like, that will trigger those type of memories. Also,
I wish I had more pictures of me looking super fucked up. I honestly do. But I
Did
was
you throw
always
'em out?
careful about it. I just never posted them, or I would like untag myself
Yep.
because of my dad's alcoholism. It was like the worst thing I thought I could possibly turn into. So like not a lot of pictures of me around alcohol because I wouldn't have it there. You know what I mean?
When
And
he
it's
told,
like,
sorry, go.
I mean, if I were to have pictures that actually represented what it was like, my eyes would be closed and I'd have a cigarette in my mouth and a drink in my hand and
Right.
100 pictures. But as it stands, I don't.
When he told you that he was gonna, that he was getting sober, and if you weren't sober at the time, or did that make you feel like mad or weird, or what did you think
Who?
when your dad started getting sober?
Oh, my dad got sober in jail when I was a
Right.
kid. So he didn't like run it by me or tell me that it was happening. He just came out of jail talking about it nonstop. And it like really
Yeah.
turned me off to it, honestly. It was
Really?
really annoying. Yeah. It was super annoying.
People do talk. That's a thing. You know, people talk about it, or they'll get like so fucking honest too. Which I have a friend, Mike, who I remember right when he stopped drinking and doing coke. He was with the show. He was at a show with me. He used to do comedy, and I was like, "Oh, are you staying?" We used to sometimes take notes for each other, and he was like, "No, I can't. I've seen your set so many times. I can't like." Unless you're doing a new joke, I can't go watch. And I was like, damn, like, you don't need to be that fucking honest.
Damn.
I
Ouch.
know. And he was doing that or like a girl asked if he wanted a drink and he was like, no, I sucked dick for coke once. I can't, and I'm straight. I can't. And she was like, okay, you can just say no. Like, he was
Yeah, no
like,
thanks.
I'm just being. So was that your first introduction to the idea of sobriety when you were a kid, him saying that he was getting,
Yeah. But it was as if he like expected the rest of us to be over it because he was done drinking and he had done so much damage that it was like, well, I don't really care. Just like,
makes sense. And I've read about that, like
Yeah.
that being like the expectation, like I'm fixed, so let's pick up where I think we should. And people are like, I'm still very pissed off.
Yeah. I even remember because he was definitely like self-medicating OCD for sure. And he got even more uptight. I felt like that got worse when he got
After
sober.
he stopped drinking.
Yeah. And I remember even saying to my mom, like, God, I wish you would just drink again. And my mom was like, don't ever say that again. She was so pissed. And I was like, this sucks.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
Just being honest.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
When you first started doing stand up right away, were you like, this is it, I'm gonna go for it?
I was like, I want to do that again. I mean, pretty much just like a drug addict. I wasn't like, I'm going to give up everything for this, but I was like, I've got to feel like that again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I actually even remember in Milwaukee, I would like make fun of people who thought they were going to be professional comedians. I was like, you are no sooner going to be a professional comedian than you're going to become Irish when you grow up. Like you're just not. You're not. We're in Wisconsin.
Was that because they weren't trying hard enough, or were you just being mean to them?
I just didn't think it was something that we could be. I didn't think it was something that someone like me from a place like where I'm from could grow up to do. I didn't think it was an option, because it is really competitive. I mean, there are thousands of people trying to be comedians. And I always just thought of that as like them pulling a business card from a fishbowl. I didn't think about the fact that like, if you work hard and you become the funniest of thousands of people, then you do get picked,
right?
But I just was like, never going to happen,
Have any of the people become professional comedians?
I have.
Besides you, right. I wonder if there's someone you inspired that was like, I'm gonna fucking show her that.
I don't think so, dude.
Damn. Well, I related to you talking about feeling like a medium fish in a medium pond, and I actually think that's
so funny. I don't remember saying that. But
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, isn't that funny when you hear something you said and you're like, oh, I like that I said that. That's the time to leave. That's when you go. If there was some advice because it's like, that's when you want to get out, because if you get too comfortable, then life, it's also like, we can't forget that life happens. Like, of course, the best thing would be to build a huge social media following in this city and then get this and then that and then this and then supersede everything. But it's like, if you stay in a place, you need to be around the best place to be in the proximity to create opportunity. And also life happens in whatever city you're in. So if you're there for too long, the roots will get deeper and it'll become harder and harder to leave. And the juxtaposition between any city and then New York and LA is fucking hard. So the harder it is when you leave, that's almost better because it's going to be so fucking hard wherever you get. Not to discourage anybody, but.
Well, and wherever you're coming from, you're going to end up at the back of the line to do the open mic. That's where you're going to be. A million followers or fucking whatever.
True.
27 followers. You're going to be at the back of the line to do the open mic.
Right.
And when you get to the front of the line, you better have a hot ass set.
Mm-hmm.
So I say I wouldn't move to LA immediately because none of those bookers ever saw me when I sucked, when I was like just starting. You know what I mean?
Right.
But once you have like a good set, then what are you waiting for? Life is only so long, you know?
You know how it sounds like you trusted your gut, your intuition to be like, okay, this is the point where I'm going to move and this is what I want to get out of this situation, like go from Milwaukee to Chicago to LA, and like sounds like you really like trusted yourself there. Were you able to trust yourself as well outside of professional capacities? Like, does that intuition bleed into other things?
It's cool that it sounds like that. That is not how I recall the experience of it being, but
that's how I interpret it.
Honestly, I made some game time decisions that looking back, I'm like, that was a fucking dope decision. But it could just as well have been a bad one. You know what I mean? I was just doing as well as I could with like the knowledge I had.
Would there have been any scenario where you would have stayed in Milwaukee or Chicago longer though?
Yeah, I planned to stay in Chicago longer. Then I came here and I was like, it's just fucking time. And I cashed in. I had a 401k. I cashed it in. I had like a little bit of savings and I came out here and made it work. It was really, really, really hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I made it work and I'm glad I did.
Was your credit when you came out here Milwaukee's the funniest? Was that the competition? I knew that was a competition.
It was either that or no, I don't think I ever used that. Laughs on Fox or like I would say I was a paid regular at the Laugh Factory because I was passed in Chicago. And I had done the Long Beach one here, a couple times or a few times. So I think I used that in the beginning.
The credits, I used like a Boston, some comedy competition, like the funniest person in this like very specific small part of Boston. It wasn't even like, it wasn't all of Boston, but it was like the funniest person in Milton, Massachusetts or something. But I remember thinking that was, when I first went to New York, I was like, this is my credit. And then someone scratched it out and wrote Boston Comedy Festival. And I was like, I haven't been in the Boston Comedy Festival. And I couldn't believe that people make up credits. That was my I was like, but I didn't do that yet. And then I saw that everyone was on TV. And then that's how I learned that it doesn't really matter that much. Yeah.
He's like, I'm not saying this. It's embarrassing for me.
Right. And I've now hosted shows, like bringer shows in New York. I used to host them a lot. And people would be like, I'm the funniest person in Marblehead High School. So say it. Marblehead. You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah. Get the fucking get out. No, absolutely. No way. Don't do it. So you've changed how you're eating through the quarantine, or is that something that started before we went into lockdown?
No, it's been in quarantine. Yeah. My eating,
because you posted something where you said that you're like, it only seems like I'm eating things that are like a slop.
Oh, that was a joke. It was just a bowl of oatmeal, but I was like, my food just doesn't look as good anymore as it used to. But I feel a lot better and I have neutrality around food now. Basically, I'm a compulsive eater, and I joined like a support group for my eating disorder. And
good job.
It's like fucking awesome. Fuck, I got to call my lady. Whatever.
Oh, cool. Well, we've got
No. I was supposed to call her this morning. I just realized I forgot because we're talking about it.
I am a compulsive overeater too, and that's been much harder for me to explain to people in relationships than not drinking. And I had some blowouts in quarantine because no shit. Yeah, because I hadn't been going to doing the things I needed to, but I've been I was like aware enough to be like, okay, I'm not in good ground, because sometimes I'll be able to like enjoy a cookie or something like that, but I have to be very 8 million things need to be lined up. And I was having a really bad day, and my girlfriend ordered cookies. And I was like, she was like, I ordered you cookies. And I was like, I was like, I can't go near those fucking cookies. I was like, then I will be in a trash can outside putting the cookies up my butt. Like, it'll get so fucking weird. You don't even know how to process how weird it's going to get. Didn't believe me. And she kept pressuring me to eat a cookie. And I got really upset. No, it was cupcakes. And then I was like, this is an awful story. I was like, fine. And I ate one. And then I was off to the goddamn racetracks. I was putting donuts in my pocket. It was like...
I totally thought you were going to say in your butt. I was like, oh, you literally do that?
No. But I fantasized. I told my
You
therapist...
butt chugged a donut?
You're like, that's a whole other thing. I fantasize about taking the food and smushing it into me because I want to escape. I'm not just thinking of eating it. I'm thinking of it taking over me. Yeah. And it is fucking... I think it's harder to explain to make people understand. Not that people need to, but I think it... So I really commend you for doing that.
Thanks. I mean, my thing is just like flour and sugar are
Sets you
alcohol
off.
to
Yes.
me. And I found that out in quarantine. It became unignorable in quarantine because I ordered like cases of like mini bags of chips. And I was like, well, I'll just get like the little bags so that, because if I get a big bag, I'll eat the whole thing in one sitting. And I would eat like 8 of these fucking bags. And I was like, this is not how normal people need to eat.
And
like
it's like
to
why you're doing it.
unstoppably eat
Right,
chips,
exactly.
you know? And so, yeah, I made lists of my red light, yellow light, green light foods, stopped eating the red light ones. And my abstinence is 3 meals a day with 1 optional snack and no flour, no sugar.
That's hard. The no flour, no sugar. But
it gets so much easier, dude. It's so much
Really?
easier for me than trying to eat in moderation and eating flour and sugar. You
right.
know?
That's because also I said too. I was like, because I was like talking to my therapist about it. I was like, it's the obsession that comes with it. I go, if I have that, then I'm trying to talk myself off of a fucking cliff. Like even if I'll be in bed and my girlfriend will be eating Swedish fish. Or the other night I didn't have them, but I was like, but the whole next day I'm thinking about them. I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, that's the line. That's different.
Yeah.
Like I will obsess about it, and people not in that are like, what? But someone that gets it is like, oh yeah, it's there.
Yeah, dude.
I had that as a kid. That was my original thing. So this wasn't something that was this a through line of like growing up, or was this?
Yeah,
Oh, it was.
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, it was really interesting because when I wrote out my whole eating history as a part of my program, it started and ended with Slim Fast shakes. And those were the only 2 times in my life that I fucked with Slim Fast shakes, were when I was a little kid, left home alone. My mom was at work and she had like the powder, and I would mix a shake in the summer. I would mix a shake for breakfast and then like watch the clock until lunchtime and then mix a shake for lunch. And then just eat all day, eat whatever I was going to eat anyway. And in quarantine, I did the exact same thing.
Wow.
I was like working out a lot, and I would have a shake before my workout, a Slim Fast after my workout, and then just eat all day. And I didn't even realize that until I wrote it down. And that was the beginning and the end of my dieting. So it's been the same. It's been the same. I remember in Chicago, I tried Weight Watchers, and fruits and vegetables were 0 points at that time. I don't know what the deal is now, but I remember standing at my kitchen counter and I ate 9 bananas in a row. And I was on the online chat like, hey, what do you do if you're so full but you can't stop eating? And she was like, maybe try like more protein or fiber so that you feel fuller. And I was like, no, I feel really fucking full.
Right.
How do I stop? And she was like, I don't know. You know, she didn't have an answer. And that was when I went to that was the first time I sought treatment, but I just wasn't ready for it. So I got like the food plan and then bounced, and I need the support. So I'm back and I'm like getting the support too.
It's interesting that, because it's like, that's where the line is of tapping out, where it's like, no, I've got something else going on that might be emotional or mental or something. So it's not just about like me. There's some, I forget how his joke goes. If it's really funny, Dan St. Germain, he had a joke about, I'm going to botch it, but it's about how, and Louis C.K. had a joke about it too, but it was about, like you don't eat, getting full is not a part of what makes them stop eating. Like he's like, I don't eat this food for that. I do this because I'm trying to forget about X, Y, and Z. I forget,
Yeah.
but I don't know what his history is with that. But I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, are you like an addict? And he was kind of like, what? And I was like, oh, I just could be
Okay.
applied that way to that joke, but
Good luck out there. All right.
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you online? And I'll post a link to your Lights Out set too, which I meant to ask too. Have you been sticking to your pact of not checking YouTube comments?
Yes, fuck yes. I'll never
Oh, wow.
check them again. Fuck those
Really?
people. Yeah, I'll never check them
Oh,
again.
see, I
swear
made the
to God.
pact. I didn't stick to it.
Oh, I stuck to it.
Really?
I remember your story, and
I'm
your
so
story
upset.
was a cautionary tale. But I made it like a bottom line for myself. Like I won't, because I can read 100 times in a row that I'm hilarious, adorable, XYZ. If I read one person be like, she's fat, I'm like, well, I'm fat. And that's all I saw. That's all I saw. And it's on a loop in my head. And I just don't want to give anybody that power.
Right. Yeah, it is like I will literally trick myself so much about it too, because I had worked myself up where I was like, this one guy or this one person commented and I got 7,000 likes that he said I'm a fat Ellen and everybody liked it and da-da-da-da. And oh, but
You're not a fat Ellen. I didn't know you were going to say fat Ellen.
That's what his thing was. It did get some likes, but it wasn't like each time in my head I was just picturing all people being like, yeah. And also people said much meaner, like you're a stupid Ellen or bootleg Ellen. Although on I just started TikTok and someone wrote Walmart Ellen, and I thought that was funny. Like if it's funny, I don't mind it, but there's also
you're not fat even a tiny bit.
and even say I fucking was, go shoot your goddamn self. It's only because of the things of when I was a kid. So
Totally.
it's a 100% tied to that. And then I get mad because I'm like, if when I was overweight, if you had said that, that is where my reaction to that comes in. Because like then literally I would not trust my anger about that. Like,
Dude, people talking about my weight, people talking about my age, which I'm like, would you fucking ever have anything to say about a man who was my age?
Right. So I was looking at the comments were way positive.
Yeah, I did a deeper dig than you did, though, Emma. I did a deeper dig than you did. I read all the replies.
Oh, so did I when it was about yeah. Same thing. You said you're up till 6 a.m. Me too. And I was dating a fucking therapist.
That's why I reached out to you. Do you remember that I reached out to you? I was like, hey, I remember you saying that this fucking took you out.
Yeah.
I'm like crying at 7 a.m.
Yep.
And you're like, man, that's a bitch.
It takes away from what you should be feeling about something. I was just watching the first thing I did, I didn't really check the comments that much. And I think it was, I don't know if I was in a better headspace. I think there was that. I think I was just really proud of what I had done. So I for some reason had the insight to be like, don't check the comments for a long time. But the second it posted, I was waiting to see negative comments. I wasn't reading it for good comment. I wasn't even reading it to see what people said.
No.
Other than negative comments.
100%.
To co-sign something.
Still actually, now that I have a lot of followers, that's still how I read comments. Now that you mention it. I'm like, what do I have to like block or delete?
Right.
You know? And it's always something. People say the dumbest shit ever. Even if it's just like someone trying to be funny, even stuff that's not I'm just like, shut up.
Do you ever snap back at them or will you just let it be?
I try not to. I did recently clap back at someone. I never do.
What did they say and what did you say?
I posted a screenshot of a tweet that was like, please don't take this the wrong way, but I hope this is the worst year of our lives.
Yeah. Right.
And someone commented, it's not even that bad. It's not like we're Jews in Nazi Germany in the 1940s. And I couldn't help it. And I responded, how could the worst year of my life be as a Jew in Nazi Germany in the 1940s? And it got hella likes and it felt so good. Right. So I think I might have broken through to something that I don't know is what I
Did they respond to that?
Yeah, they were like, I'm just saying it's not that bad. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Just
shut up. That isn't what you said.
Watch, they're like a huge fan and they listen to this and I'm shitting on them.
What they said was it's not as bad as this specific horrific toxic event. And you're
The
like,
worst thing
worst
historically
thing.
that you can possibly think of.
Right.
Did you know that humans can feel pain without it being the literal worst historical thing that
Right.
you can possibly
Without it being
think of?
the Holocaust? Like, what if that's the
Don't make
line?
me laugh at you saying the Holocaust.
Like,
That's the fucking clip you choose to promote this video.
Yeah, just me going, the Holocaust. That is such a YouTube or such a troll like comment thing. That's like such a someone also thinking that they're being like a innovative commenter too. Like, well, actually, it's not like, and then it's like,
I
that's a
said
good
our
one to
lives,
respond to.
dude. Our
Right.
experience. I'm speaking to our experience. I hope this is as bad as it ever gets for us. I say that in love. It's a positive message.
Absolutely.
I hope no one has to deal with suffering that is worse than what we are collectively experiencing this year. I hope that for everybody.
Never in at least it would take 1,000 thoughts for me to think of the Holocaust in connection to that. I mean, it would really be a lot of like what to this to that. You know what I'm saying?
At what point did I say, I hope we all are experiencing the worst suffering in human history? That's not what I want.
Right. Or this is the worst suffering
Or
in human
what I'm
history.
claiming.
Period.
Yeah,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right. Right. Well, where can people find you online and follow
Oh,
what
I'm so
you're up to?
sorry.
No,
Yes. You can find me on Instagram at Lara Beitz, LaraBeitz, and you can find me on Twitter by the same name. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you
I
for
had so much
having
fun.
me.
It's so good
Absolutely.
to see you.
Great to see you.
We should go on like a social distance walk.
Yeah, I would love that. Conversation with comedian Lara Beitz. Thank you so much for joining in. I had a really good time talking with her, and I hope you had a good time listening to the conversation. I appreciate you very much. You can rate and review the show, Emma's Bunker. You can just say what's up there. I appreciate it. Also, you can watch some of the videos on YouTube, which isn't fucking embarrassing. I mean, YouTube, I'm just eating shit. I'm eating shit. I don't know what's what. It's like I'm getting half a view from my uncle. And yes, I'm talking about the special needs ones. Shout out to Uncle Zeke. I'm eating shit on it. But I'm just remembering my ex-girlfriend, the therapist, saying you can't start at the finish line. Psh, I don't know. But yeah, I'm still putting this shit up because there's bigger things going on. And you know what, people, I'm not going to spiral. That was my conversation. Thank you guys so much for being here, audioly or visually, or both. I don't know how you consume. But yeah, you can email me, emmasbunker@gmail.com. I appreciate you so much. Questions, feedback, hit me up. Thank you so much.
I have done things for my appearance since living here that I could never have imagined in my wildest nightmares living back in the Midwest. I paid an Armenian woman. I gave my money to her. To burn the hair off of my asshole with a laser beam.